Brown. Bad man for the 2020-2021. And you know what it is. You know Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego too. This is Paul and Rupert.
We're back!
Coming out with a brand new thought. Covered under the blood in which we were born. So we know how to get to.
Is for bold, A is for active, D is for determined. When you consider King David valiant, you have an idea and understanding of where we're taking this. Stay tuned.
Hallelujah, revive us again.
We are excited to bring fresh commentary, good conversation with two bad men. Boy, you don't want to miss this. Bad Man for Christ. Join us.
Stands for determined, just like Peter when he did his first sermon. As the saying goes, bad men for Christ. That is how we'll be for the rest of our life. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our show because we're stuck in the house with nowhere to go.
Revive us again, yeah.
Hey man, what a wonderful tune! I was just mesmerized with the tune, my friend. Oh my goodness! Oh, bad man! Welcome everybody to another edition of the Bad Man Show. Overseer, how are you doing, sir?
Man, I am blessed and highly favored. God has been good. We had a wonderful weekend. It was sunny out on Sundays or Saturday. 70 degrees up here in Jersey. We didn't drop down to 40, but still was nice during the day, so it was great. How about you, sir?
Oh, I really second what you said. On Saturday, I had an opportunity to actually be in a meeting with you, so we spent some time together. So we appreciate it. That was beautiful. Yes. Excellent weekend. We thank God for that opportunity. And it's just a tremendous blessing. Yes. And of course, on Sunday was a good Sunday for us. We had communion, preach a tremendous message. All around, the Lord is good. And there's no way to complain. No complaints on my side.
And Christmas Sunday's around the corner. I don't know. So now we're going to celebrate Christmas Sunday the day after Christmas on the 26th. I guess some folks will be celebrating this coming Sunday, right? So you're celebrating this, so it's for it's going to be a great time. Christmas Sunday is always a beautiful time of the year. Unfortunately, COVID last year really killed Christmas Sunday, but I hope that this year people will begin to say, you know what, I at least want to watch it. If I can't attend, let me watch the service, and we get a good number of folks online. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, one good thing is hopefully next week, we can talk about a little bit about Christmas. How we celebrate it, who celebrates it, the commercializing of Christmas. We can do some little stuff on that on next Monday. That'll be a good session for us to prepare and bring that to our audience. Hopefully, we can get some feedback on them, because like me, I grew up without no tree. In my conservative church upbringing. A tree was an abomination. Oh, hallelujah. Yeah. So, there might be others, that has that same type of upbringing as I do. So that way, let's table that until next week. That would be something good to talk about.
I do want to say this. I'm not going to talk about Dallas because my good friend Mark Brodus is a Washington football team fan. We're not going to talk about it. So we're ending at that. So God bless. Wonderful day. He's my boy. I can't talk about his team losing to Dallas. I won't talk about his team losing to Dallas. I won't do that. I can't do that because I wouldn't be fair to him, because right now he's probably a little bit upset because they're making a comeback. Then we got a sack. But I won't talk about the game because he is my friend.
Hey, I leave that up to you and Mark. In fact, what we should do probably on the last Monday, we should have Mark to come in. Let's have Mark to come in. We can talk about moving forward in 2022. And since we usually have him to either sit in for me, either you or me, that would be kind of nice. Let's bring him in. Let's announce it the last Monday of this year, 2021.
That's the 27th.
Mark Brodus is gonna come in, and then he and Overseer can actually have a a virtual fight over.
He can't have. It won't be good for him. We would have to lose every game, and they would have to win every game. But it doesn't make a difference. But definitely. But please,
and of course,
while you're on,
of course, if he's available, you know. But we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't. But he has 2 weeks to cancel everything anyway. I mean, this is a bad man show. He's not going
to want. He's not going to want to do something else. He's going to want to come to this. Everybody wants to come to this. Everybody wants to do a bad man show. But please like and subscribe, everyone. Please help us get the word out. We're still trying to get the word out to everybody. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Also, if you have any questions or comments during this time that we're going to be talking, bring it forward. Ask your questions. It's going to be a good discussion, because what I'm going to say right now is that it is interesting, because when I look at Christendom, I'm noticing something that I have a question for you, Bishop. Is it important for churches and individuals to have covering? And if it is important, do you see a decline in true covering, where it's not just pseudo covering? Oh, this is my covering, but I never talk to that person. I never deal with those groups, but they're my covering. I see it being a detriment and an issue right now in Christendom. And I want people's thoughts. Bishop, you go first. What do you think about this issue about church and covering, whether it be individuals or churches?
All right. So right quickly before I jump in on the question, I also want to say to those who have been subscribers and those who have been watching us on Facebook over the last year, that we truly appreciate you. We want to give you a virtual hug, especially for some of our ardent subscribers, some that comes on every single Monday. We want to express this time of appreciation. You take the time out, and just from the top and the bottom, in between of our hearts, we want to say thank you so much, and we truly appreciate it. Now, overseer, I believe I heard 2 questions. One about covering, and the other one is about the pseudo covering. I think that's what I heard. 2 questions, right?
Yeah.
So the first one is about covering. I believe in covering. I believe in headship, because accountability is like a guardrail that will keep you from going crazy. Right. So I believe in covering, headship, and accountability. Yes, I agree with you that they are pseudo covering. We live in a time where for $39.99 you can get online and get whatever credential you want.
Yeah.
So we're aware of that. Now, so as I mentioned about headship and covering being a guardrail, and you being accountable to someone, because you need somebody who will be able to provide you directions, and somebody who will tap you on the shoulder when you are wrong. And we live in a day, as you can see, in a time. I don't want to jump into it this way, but when you have a January 6th incident in where the rule of law is being challenged. Now, I mean, I don't want to go into on either end of the political spectrum, but the fact is there was a January 6th stuff. There's no question about that. So you need covering, and you need to be accountable, because somebody has to help you.
Right.
I keep you on track. Now, I believe somebody like in my position have a responsibility to call out the pseudo people who are on the pseudo covering. What I mean call out is those support. If you're gonna come to First Pentecostal to minister or to do anything in within the context of the ministry, you need to be able to provide some type of credential setting. And if you don't have one that quote unquote meets the par, I don't think you should be able to. You should minister at our church.
Okay, and I agree with you. But the problem that we have is that people can always say, all right, this is my covering. And it's hard for us to prove it because if I have a credential from PAW, let's say, right? I may never have gone to one PAW service, but I sent my money in for my credentials and they sent it back to me, right? I don't even know who my bishop is for my district, but I sent my money in so I can have a credential so I can do certain things. And then if I need PAW to help me do something, I've got my credentials. I'm one of the churches in PAW, but I am not somebody who really takes part in it or even looks for their help. I am just part of it, right? So that might not be their actual covering. They're just using it so they can say, oh, I have a covering. My issue is that those churches and those individuals can cause havoc in our assemblies or our churches because they have no accountability. They just do what they want to do.
And let me put a quick disclaimer in here. PAW is only using as an example, folks. He has no idea how PAW operates.
Yeah, I have face idea how they operate. Yeah. It's just a thing that came to my mind because people know who PW is. I could easily have said UPCI. I could have said Bible Way. So I could have said Assemblies of God.
I just want to put a disclaimer in so that we don't get sued. He doesn't know, right?
I would tell PAW, I say, come on, you're going to sue me for what? for 10 cents? Go ahead, sue me. 10 cents. 10 cents.
So that's the first thing. I want to put a disclaimer in. No. I believe organization like that has been around for a while have certain procedures in place where they can filter out those type of individual. But what you're saying, you don't believe that?
No.
So are you suggesting that at UCJC we can have a pseudo person slipping in there doing some type of stuff? Oh no, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, no problem. Because most organizations look at the paper that's signed and then you send your credentials in, right? They're not checking up on unless that diocese is doing it. Right? They're not checking up on it. Now, maybe this diocese is doing it, or maybe that diocese, but I'm sure that out of the years that UCJC was around, there were churches that were just on paper.
Overseer.
Bishop, let me not go into it because you know what? I know for a fact that there was because I don't want to go there.
I'm going to leave that alone because I don't want you to call out any church on the bad man. I know it's the bad man show, but all right, okay. Since you have an example, I will, because the reason why I was kind of pushing back a little bit because I am in the position as a diocesan to make sure those kind of operations don't happen.
Yeah.
And you see, that is my, and so I was only saying as a diocesan that you are in the place to protect the organization from exactly what is it that you're saying. All right. So take for that. Yes.
Yeah, we can't get into it because we know that there's so many of us on this thing. I don't want to get in trouble like that. I don't want to get a phone call after the series is over. So let's just say that there are organizations that have these issues. And it's not just there's pastors who have these issues with their ministry, with their ecclesia. So it's not even just the organization to the church. It's sometimes the church to their staff, where there are people that minister or are ministers per se, but aren't really covered. They could care less what the pastor says. They could care less to follow leadership of the pastor. But because they go to the church and they get their credentials and they can do what they do, they get to do it. They get to do it, and then suddenly they become pastors because they say, well, you know what, I'm gonna open up a church now. And we know that happens. So please don't tell me that doesn't happen. We know there are people who will preach a message and have some good tap on the back, and suddenly they say, "Oh, I can be a pastor now," and they got without a covering. But they'll say they're pastor. They come out of this church, right? They'll say they come out of this church because that will help them legitimize it. Or if their pastor doesn't back them, what they do is they find that guy who was patting them on the back and says, "Man, can you cover me? My pastor doesn't see me." But the fact of the matter is any leader who gets a person who the pastor of that church is not covering, you shouldn't just pick it up and run with it. That's me. You better ask the question, well, if your pastor's not covering you, why should I cover you? I don't know you like that. But we've got people who will do it because they want to grow their numbers. And the church and church has become am I going to get in trouble? And church has become a number thing. Church has become a number thing. It has left the sanctity of what it's meant to be a numbers game. Where organization prelates try to increase the number of churches, where there are churches that increase their assemblies just because it's a numbers game. Because I want to show you how big and how powerful my ministry is by the number, not by the anointing.
So you're saying that you believe in purging the membership list at the end of the year?
I don't even have a membership list.
Okay.
None of the sheep.
So how do you purge those folks that are just using Rehoboth as a pseudo?
They purge themselves because they can't get anything from me. So if they want to go from here to here, and they say, "Well, Pastor," I'm like, "I haven't seen you in 10 months. Why am I going to give you a letter? Just go. You're not really here." Because as you know, Bishop, you have people who will call you pastor and call you bishop, and you haven't seen them in months.
That is true. All right, we got a question from one of our guests.
Brother Walsh is saying he's not following what the meaning of covering is. Do you want to take this, sir? Tell him what the meaning of covering is.
My good friend, Brother Walsh, a covering is someone who is looking out for your behalves on a spiritual level. In Hebrews, the Bible says, obey them who has the rule over you because they watch for your soul. So the covering is you are in a local assembly, you have a local pastor, and you have accepted the fact that the Lord has planted you as that church. And therefore, since you're planted at that church, you are following the direction and the vision and working along with the ministry of that church. So in essence, that's in a high level, that's what we mean by covering.
Yeah, and I would add as an example, every son has a father, right? Every son has a father, and the father is the covering of the son. So when the son gets out of the way, the father helps the son back into the right way. The son goes to father for advice. The son goes to the father for knowledge. This is not about mentorship. This is about a covering. There's a difference. A father is not a mentor. A father is a father. A mentor is a friend. A father is somebody that you say, "This is my father. I come from this person. He covers me." That's what I mean by covering. Somebody that you've come out of, or somebody that you're working with directly, that you entrust that this person is going to help guide you to where you need to be. What has happened is coverings have become pseudo coverings just by name, not by purpose. That's
so
what I
mean. Yeah. So in other words, our dear guest, what overseer is saying, you cannot be a members in transition. you're either covered or you're not.
You're not.
So that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But he's not putting in any allowance that if you are moving from one state to the next, he's not putting any allowance in that. So
But
I as we go on, he's gonna have to tighten that up a little bit.
no, because I'm saying that if you're gonna leave the covering of this, okay, let me put it this way, okay? Are you gonna move out of your house without another house to live in?
You can't.
You can't. There's no way you're gonna move out of your home and take your family and move to nowhere, right? You're gonna move them from a house to a house, an apartment, something. They're gonna have something over their head, some shelter over their head. So why would you move a church family from a covering, from a shelter to nowhere?
But I could move into an apart. I could move into a hotel on a temporary situation to go into the house.
How long are you going to be in a hotel for?
A couple weeks.
Okay, so I'll give you a couple week transition. I give you got a couple weeks. Don't give me no 2-3 years. All right.
We have another question.
So Brother Mark is saying, so how do we put a stop to the numbers game? Oh, Mark Kobe did that. My bro, Kobe did a good job of that. No, in all seriousness, and I'll take it. Go ahead first, Bishop, then you can take it. I would say that there's no way we can put a stop to the numbers game. Individuals have to come to the knowledge that I cannot do the numbers game. I have to do it the right way. Now, your numbers may increase because you're doing it the right way. I'm not saying you're not going to increase because you're doing it the right way. What I'm saying is you're not counting the numbers for the purpose of having numbers. But there's always going to be people who do that because there's money behind it. And I don't care if the person calls himself the apostle, their numbers equal more money. See, I don't care if they call themselves apostle first class. If they're doing it for money, they're going to try to increase their numbers. The more speaking engagements I get, the more money I get. The more popular I get, the more money I get. It's interesting that's kind of the caveat now, right? You know how good I am by how much I have.
Well, you see, the thing is, my dear audience, you say overseer doesn't have a mortgage, a $300,000 mortgage.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. I have a very big mortgage.
You see, so, but you see, this is how I put it. There are sheeps and there are goats, and you know you can keep the goats around until they become sheeps.
Yeah. But could you answer the question? How can you stop the numbers? Because you're talking about an individual spiritual person who is not walking right. We can get them to walk right, and I agree with that. But isn't it a fact that there are people that don't have a covering, and because of that, they think they can do whatever they do, and it's right.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. So the question is, education. We have to be able to hold those folks accountable. But as Brother Wall says, you could also be looking at the giving capacity as well. And that might cause you to be a little bit slow into holding them accountable.
Yeah. And it may, because when you have bills to pay, you've got bills to pay. But then we preach, have faith in God. So which one's right? Have faith in God that God's going to do it, or I have to go get the numbers to make the bills right? Which one are we going to do?
Is covering biblical or is church organization?
Hey, don't skip my question. Don't skip my question. Don't skip my question.
Okay, which one? Well, you said the thing is, Let me put it this way. I have heard this statement. If they are in the congregation, you need to get all that you can get out of them, because you don't know when the devil is going to jump into their hearts and they're going to leave. So while they are there, that is faith in operation.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
But it seems like in many cases that's how things are operating. It's not necessarily a faith, and not necessarily an operation in faith, because like you said, if I'm operating by faith, then I am sticking and upholding the all of the tenets of what is it that I know that I ought to do.
Yeah, Bishop, and when, especially when it comes, and I have no problem with a leader saying to their congregation, excuse me, we need better giving. I have no problem with that. We need better giving. We need better tithing, because the fact of the matter is the whole church should be tithing, not 20% of it, like is now. Whole church should be tithing. So we need better tithing. That's not outside the biblical realm, because you have to be giving a free will offering and you should be tithing. That's biblical. The problem I have is that when they say they need it because they want to better their lifestyle, not because they want to better the kingdom. We have been through a lot of changes. Many pastors, many leaders have, where one year they have 100 people, the next year they've got 50. But our doors are still open. Not because we told people to give more. Either the people out of their heart did it because they see what's going on, or God has kept us in doing it. That's what I've seen, at least in my world. Right now, I am struggling financially because a lot of the people left. But I'm not struggling to the point where I'm saying, man, I got to ask for more. I'm struggling to the point where I've got to readjust things based on what we do. I don't give as much as I used to give. When I go to other churches, I cannot function in that way. There's certain things I can't do. I can't get this during the year like I may have done in the past. I've got to be smarter than that. Unfortunately, we don't drive out every week. All these different things that have kept us to be able to function, but that's just the way it is. I've got a huge problem when it has become giving because I want to do better, not because I want to do the church better. Okay, and I know it's going to be taboo, but go ahead.
But you see, so we're talking about a subject matter that we don't know whether or not members of our listening audience are being covered or not.
Right.
So we're talking by faith here. We began the show by saying we want to have everybody to come on in to the Bad Man Show, and then we're hitting them with a subject matter and say,
but they got to listen. That's what shows are about. Shows are about hearing something you may not like, but it makes you think. And if you don't like it, you don't listen to us next week because of what we said. You know what? You're probably that person. You're probably that person. I don't want to walk that way, so that's fine by me. I'm not going to compromise. Let's move on to the next question, because it's
it's covering biblical. Yes, it is. It's covering a church organization. No, it's not.
No, covering
covering is biblical. In fact, the fact is, it is the Lord. If you read the writings of the Apostle Paul, it's the Lord who plants us in an assembly. When God plants us in an assembly, we don't have the power to uproot ourselves and go plant somewhere else. So covering is a biblical concept. We don't want, so in other words, we are not the individuals that decide where we ought to be planted. it's that responsibility is totally based upon the Spirit and the move of the whole and the move of God.
Yeah, thank you, Bishop. Great point. And also, I'm not saying you have to be part of an organization to be covered. You can be a church independent and still be covered because you have somebody over you that you trust and watches over you. He may not be part of he may be part of an organization, but you say, you know what? Because, like, for instance, my father had that. He had churches that looked up to him that weren't part of the organization, but they were his covering and they considered him their covering. So you can have that. Even before pre-pandemic, I had two churches that we got together and they asked me to be their covering. I said, no, I'm not going to be your covering. I'm going to, well, let's work together. So we ended up working together, but they wanted me to be their covering. And I said, no, I'm not smart enough to be your covering. I need more intelligence to do that right now. And I'm not there. So we work together. But so you don't have to be in the organization to be covered because it is a biblical concept. So thank you for that explanation. Any more questions before I go on to the next thought here? For this is from a very smart young man, Sean Gore. But doesn't money equal more resources and impact? See, I said he's a very smart man. Yes, they do, if that's what you're using them for, right? They do. So if you're getting, okay, so for instance, I read a book where in the beginning of the book, the gentleman, the author of the book wrote, and he said, I was pastoring a church with thousands of members. I think he said something like 12,000 members. They had fundraisers to open up a new sanctuary, and they also had missions. One day he got the missions report right after they signed a deal to put $26 million for a new sanctuary. $26 million. And he read the missions report and it said they gave $5,000 to Africa. And it was on the front page of their missions docket. He said that was a point when he quit pastoring the big church because obviously he missed the point of church. So yes, you're 100% right. It does equal more resources and impact, but it depends on what you put it to. What he was saying was, instead of helping people, I helped a group. We didn't need a new $26 million church. But I'm sure people in Africa needed more than $5,000. And we didn't put the resources and make the biggest impact with what we got. Instead, we just helped ourselves and not the kingdom of God. That's what he was saying. And so I understood that. So yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I don't know what you say, Bishop, but go ahead.
I agree. I mean, no. I think we ought to allocate resources. We are supposed to be a sending church. Sending. Jesus did not say build sanctuary. He says go. So our ministry ought to be centered around sending. Of course, that's usually not the case. And we need to make the appropriate adjustment. Even myself, I need to make the appropriate adjustment so that we are maximizing the funding that the Holy Spirit gives us stewardship over. Because it's more important for us to be looking outside of the building. So as you remember, our presider for the last 10 years has been really pushing for us to go beyond the walls, because that's where it's when you go beyond the walls, then you'll be able to see where the needs are. And when you're able to see where the needs are, you're able now to be able to make the appropriate adjustment in your budget so that you can take care of the actual kingdom as God has called us to be.
Yeah, and so Sean's, can you say, so couldn't the argument be made that you should have a level of money focus within churches? You should have a level of money focus within churches. I'm not 100% sure, but you should always have focus on ministry. You should have a focus on money, but not because of personal, because you want to, as you said, make an impact. And unfortunately, in this world, you can only make an impact if you have resources.
Yeah, but I think money will follow ministry. Everything rises and falls on leadership, and wherever you put leadership, where you put leadership, money will follow.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. But then here we go. Then we go right back to the covering, right? You're a leader. You need focus. Who do you go to help you with the focus? You go to your covering, right? If your covering did a good job of it, right? If you notice that your covering had good ministries, they did this and they did that, and he wasn't driving the greatest cars all the time. You know, every once in a while he had a hoopty because that's just the way it was, because he was doing something else. But then sometimes the church blessed him. Amen. Great God, glory to God. So you go to him to say, you know what? Look at what I'm doing, and let me know if this is something that is viable to what I should be doing. That's where the covering comes in. And a lot of times we don't do that. We make our own plans and we say, well, this is going to work for us. And we try to reinvent the wheel when somebody else, our covering per se, has already done it. I do it with you. I call you all the time. As a matter of fact, I did it about Christmas Sunday. I called you, hey, man, because you're my covering. You're my diocese bishop. I said, hey, man, when you do Christmas Sunday, I think I'm doing the 26th.
Right, you
did. Said, we're going to do the first one. Now, if you said to me, no, you should not do it on the 26th, it's always this date, I would have said, okay, I got to let people know. But you said, you know what? Different people do a different Sunday. This is when we're doing it. Yes, you're fine. I said, okay, cool. So I didn't just say to myself, oh, I'm a pastor. I don't need somebody else's approval. What I do? I didn't do that. I took it to you to see what your thought was.
But obviously, everybody's not like that, though. You got to understand. Yeah. But folks don't think that that type of stuff needs any type of direction. You see, and so they go off and doing off by themselves, run into a certain issue, and then they will call back, and that's when decision has to be made. As far as accountability it has to be placed. That's my take on it.
Yeah, but that could be the problem. If you don't look at the little things, the big things aren't going to be touched. I look at Paul and John Mark. Paul said, I don't want John Mark coming because when I asked John Mark to do the little things, he wasn't willing to do it. So I'm not going to have him come with me because I want to do the little things. Now, when he saw that he was willing to do a lot of the little things, he said, now send John Mark to me.
Okay.
Because now he's ready to do the bigger things.
Okay.
But if you're not willing to do, I'm going to call him on about Christmas Sunday. And maybe you might have said to me, you know what? Let me call the presider. He's our covering. Let me see what he says.
And we have gone through that situation before.
And we've done that. Yes.
And we have done that. Yeah.
We've done that. So there is that level of, hey, nothing is too small, nothing is too big. Covering is covering. And you have to, don't wait till it's a hurricane to try to find shelter. Even if it's just a couple raindrops, get a covering over your head. Okay. Right. What should any pastor accept covering? Sorry, would or should any pastor accept covering from a pastor organization that's a private plane?
Remember, a private plane doesn't necessarily mean that it's been used for somebody's convenience. A private plane means that the ministry responsibility is such at a level that they need that type of transport. So, Brother Walsh, don't look just at the plane. Look at the ministry requirements, because there might be a reason why that person has that. Remember, to whom much is given, right? Much is expected. So if that person has a ministry requirement that they may need the plane to get from one part of the one state to another state in time for to minister at certain within that limited amount of time. It's only 24 hours a day, and so therefore it does not mean that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on the private plane thing either, but the truth of the matter, you're 100%, Bishop. I agree with you, because it depends on what they're using it for, right? It depends on what they're using it for.
Right.
We've heard enough examples, the bad examples, but there's a lot of good examples where people have private
Exactly.
planes and they do it for the right reason. But it depends on what they're doing it for. I agree. Excuse me. Next question. Overseer, how do you get pastors to follow your lead? I'm guessing it means my lead about how I call you, how I looked at coverings. It's tough because you have to first admit that you don't know everything. That's the first thing. You have to admit you don't know everything, right? Once you can admit that, it's easy to make a phone call. I am of a person who I say I'm the smartest guy in every room I ever go into, and I'll tell you why I'm the smartest guy, because I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And I'm not afraid to ask somebody what I don't know. That makes me smart, very smart. And I say it because most people in the room won't do that because they rather fake it or pretend they know than ask the question because they don't want to look bad in front of their peers. And I could care less if you think I'm not smart. I could care less, because the reason why you think I'm not smart is because I'm asking a question. But guess what? The question I asked, I get an answer, just made me smarter. So I don't have a problem with it. So the only way that you get somebody to follow my lead is, one, they have to admit I don't know everything. And then number two, have a willingness to ask the question regardless of how simple it may sound. Ask the question. Bishop, I don't know you would
Also, he who desire friends must show himself friendly. And so it's also overseer is a kind of friendly guy. He's an approachable guy, and so therefore you know, with those type of personality traits, temperaments, you can get a lot. But humility plays a big role, and I think when it comes to leadership and within even the context of church, somebody gets the title of a pastor. I've seen it. You're having conversation with the brother or the sister. You were out at the restaurant, and that Sunday, the presider elevate them to a pastor, overseer, bishop, and then you got to get an appointment to talk to them. So it's hard to follow the lead with those kind of stuff, So I mean, humility plays a big role, and being able to be honest. Yeah. And I think that many times we're not honest. We're not honest with each other. And we just need to be more honest.
Man, I agree, Bishop, with that one. The honesty part is huge, and with covering, that's why I think covering is important, because to be honest with you, there's no way you can know everything about ministry that you can't be covered by somebody to help you through it. And I think that's honesty, especially when you're starting off young, you're starting off with the new assembly. You might have fantastic ideas, and they may be wonderful. But man, if to be honest with yourself, you need somebody to help you disseminate through those ideals, because you could be wasting 6-7 months on an idea that doesn't work. And you could have been told it doesn't work immediately if you went to who you're supposed to go to. So
well, overseer, thank you so much. It's been an excellent I enjoyed the times talking with you tonight. I want to say to our audience, come on back next Monday. We're going to talk about Christmas. It's going to be a little bit more fiery because, overseer, he lived in the big house, and I was just down the road down there in the hut, and the Christmas tree sizes were different. He had tall ones with many lights, and so it's going to be very interesting. So come on back, Hanson. We truly appreciate you. Thank you all so much for joining us one more time on the Bad Man Show. Back over to you, overseer.
I don't know where Paul Brown thought I grew up. I don't know where Bishop Brown thought I grew up. But all right, man. Hey, everybody. Love you all. Keep safe. We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel, Bad Man Show. Love you. Check us out next week, 7:15. Be there.
Take care. Have a good week. God bless you.
God bless.
Us again. A to the A to the D to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again. It's the B to the A to the D to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again.